So the good news is there's not a million speakers after me. So you're wondering why I'm here tonight. For me, it's an honor to be here. I've been here all night. The speakers have been awesome. The activists who represent a new generation who are not afraid to pursue justice and peace. And speaking of justice, the 2018 elections have taken on an urgency I have never experienced in my lifetime. It's not simply a fight for fairness or justice or the policies we champion for working folks and their families. We must be a check and balance for our democracy and for a society that is safe, welcoming, and sane. We must fight the anti-democratic, nativistic, racist, incompetent, oligarchical authoritarianism and cruel instincts and actions of a president and his cronies and associates who simply want an intolerant, divisive society and a return to the Gilded Age. This is, whether you are in J Street or the AFT, a which side are you on moment. Now, that statement, which I happened to write on Martin Luther King's birthday weekend, is plastered to the door in my office, and it's a sentiment that guides my head and my heart. And friends, I suspect from the reaction I just got is now you know why this American labor leader is on the J Street stage tonight. Because, in large part, the fight in America is the fight in Israel. And while the words I just said may be different, the sentiment is similar to everyone who is engaged in J Street. We believe in America and we believe in Israel. But democratic norms and institutions are under fierce attack in both countries we love. And one of the struggles that binds us, a struggle that gets more difficult by the day, is how to maintain the idea, the dream of peace and justice for Israelis and Palestinians, for an Israel and a Palestine that exists side by side, two states for two people. Let me talk to the Israelis in the room for a moment, because you are the activists and the voices for justice and peace, for economic justice, for racial justice. And I am in awe of your energy and for all of these years, for not completely giving in to despair, for maintaining a sense of humor and patience, for doing the work you do every day to make things better, even while the rest of the world ignores you and sometimes our progressive allies condemn you. I was so pleased to hear the new leader of Meretz, member of Knesset, Tamar Zandberg, and I promise you we didn't compare speeches. May your social justice lens guide you through your years of activism. And then there were the grassroots activists. Yeah, we can clap for her. And then there were the grassroots activists in the previous panels who worked tirelessly against tremendous odds to create a nation and a place in the world where we see our values reflected in reality. From the Israeli Jews and the Palestinian women, from Women Wage Peace to the activists trying to stop Israel from destroying Palestinian villages, to, frankly, those awesome students who we just saw. I try never to miss a J Street conference. But it is the activists that we saw on this stage tonight. They are the front line, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. And speaking of someone else we owe a debt of gratitude to, that is Jeremy Ben-Ami. And Jeremy, he will hate that I said this about him. He leads us in righteous battle, always finding the path. And I, who have had to be in many battles, I take great comfort to work side by side with him in these tumultuous times. Because make no mistake, my friends, we are in a global battle for justice, for the values we believe in. We are here to call out and to change a right-wing populist government with a leader who thrives on hatred and division, who mocks and attacks the press, who sees the strangers among us as a danger to be feared and mistreated, not as fellow humans. Which country am I speaking about? The truth is, Israel beat us to it with a right-wing leadership years before we had Donald Trump, before right-wing populists captured leadership in Europe. But here we are, and the similarities are abundant. And frankly, I'm not sure when it comes to Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump, I don't know who's imitating who. We all know Trump's Twitter habits, but what about Bibi using social media to attack organizations like the New Israel Fund, or to promote the same xenophobic anti-immigrant attacks we see Trump launch to keep his base happy? And I don't know about you, but after Netanyahu's many attacks on the New Israel Fund, my partner, now wife, Sharon Kleinbaum, we decided to double down on our support for NIF. And frankly, we designated them as one of the organizations we asked our friends and families to support on the occasion of our marriage. Yes, the labor leader did marry the rabbi. But the ways American Jews can support progressive values in Israel is to support the groups that support these values. The groups you saw on this stage tonight, plus B'Tselem, Breaking Silence, Acri, J Street. That is what we can do. And just think about this. How is it that Israel is carrying out the same anti-immigrant policies, attacking asylum seekers with venom that we see now in Hungary and Poland? Israel, the state that was born out of the Holocaust, the state that next week will celebrate its 70th anniversary. Yes, Israel is a young state. It's a state with growing pains. But that is what we need to do to provide the accountability that means never again for all of us. And now, as we meet, the tensions between Israel and Gaza have entered their third week. And let me be clear, while Israel has a right to defend itself on its southern border, it must do everything in its power to ensure that unarmed, peaceful protesters, be they Israelis or Palestinians, are not harmed. The people of Gaza need a just solution. The status quo can't continue. There must be a return to a serious two-state negotiation, something that may seem out of reach at this moment, but we must never stop reaching. So how, my friends, does that happen? Yes, we can pray, we can advocate, but clearly there's no magic wand. What we can do, what is crucial, is to strengthen our cross-continental and cross-generational coalition that promotes social justice across the U.S. and Israel. And that is what the AFT has tried to do, to strengthen the ties between my union and social justice activists and workers in Israel. Our strategy, I know this may surprise you, has been to support progressives in their work in Israel, just like we do in the United States, to strengthen our bonds with our broader communities, to enlarge the tent, as Isaiah said. So we fight against polarization and hate. At the same time, we build relationships and community. That is why we fell in love with the Hand in Hand schools in Israel. Hand in Hand's mission is to create an inclusive Israel through a network of integrated bilingual schools with Jewish and Arab students and staff throughout 6 schools in the country. We partner on teacher training and support. We focus on the respect. We strive for U.S. children, parents, and teachers, whether they be in Puerto Rico, San Antonio, and New York City. The same respect that every school child must have, respect for culture, for identity, for learning. And think for 1 second right now just how much those teacher walkouts have shown that public support for public education in the United States is alive and well. And in Israel, as well as the United States, all children, whether Jewish, Arab, Black, white, Native, Hispanic, deserve classrooms with all the opportunities afforded by public education without prejudice or preference. Teacher to teacher, child to child, AFT keeps working with the Hand in Hand schools so that they can help make Israel a more equal, just society. And that's not our only connection. We've also developed cross-union trainings with the activists at the Social Economic Academy. And I want to give a shout out to Omer Schechter, who is here, who is an organizer for the Israeli Medical Residents Union. Omer, where are you? I know you're here somewhere. The Israel Medical Residents Union was part of a delegation last year where the AFT, SEA, and community organizers shared strategies together, learning together how to promote economic justice, because Israel and America happen to share another distinction, the bleak distinction of being 2 of the most unequal societies in the world. The U.S. is number 3 amongst OECD countries. Israel is number 5. Efforts to erode Israel's once proud social democratic economy have resulted in a society of the very rich and those who struggle to get by. And this severe gap in income in Israel is one of the reasons why politicians like Bibi Netanyahu, helped by his pal Sheldon Adelson, uses polarization and fear to try to further divide working families, turning Israel into a tribal nation. Secular Jews against Haredim, Mizrahi against Ashkenazi, Tel Aviv against the periphery. And Bibi thinks it's just fine to agitate against Arab citizens who comprise 21% of the nation. These fierce divides are hard to bridge, but we must. We must look for those bridges. We must look for those openings. We must reach out. And frankly, it ain't so different. I know my English teachers would have hated I said that. From what the Koch brothers, the DeVos family, and what Shelley Adelson does in the United States, pitting red states against blue states, new workers against seniors, new immigrants against not so new immigrants, gay versus straight, anti-Muslim fear-mongering, the fear of the other, to attack voting rights, public education, labor rights, to try to eviscerate the movements that create a better life. And while we in the United States have a lot to learn from our Israeli colleagues, something is changing in this country. We have become a rallying nation, and I am hopeful that the age of passive resignation is over. Despair is not a strategy, as Ruth Messenger often teaches us. From the streets to the schools to the ballot box, Americans are joining together in the largest surge of collective courage, idealism, and condemnation of injustice in my lifetime. In recent weeks, hundreds of thousands of students around the country have protested gun violence. Dreamers in Texas and Washington, D.C. have stood against deportation from the only country they know. School employees in West Virginia and Oklahoma and graduate workers in Illinois have waged successful walkouts for school resources and for pay. Civil rights activists went back to Memphis after or during or for the 50th anniversary of the assassination of MLK to once again say, we need to fight for justice and we need to fight for voting. I can go on and on and on. Democrat Connor Lamb won a seat in a longtime ruby red Republican congressional district in Western Pennsylvania, proudly crediting his support from unions as he said, that is the fight for basic dignity and social justice. This, my friends, is what democracy looks like. When our president and our Congress fail to make our schools or communities safer, when they govern for the wealthy, when they govern for the few, it is we, the people, particularly young people, who are getting up and stepping out, and that is what we need to do this November. I love it. Like the union movement, never again, 55 strong, Black Lives Matter, united we dream, and time's up. They are bringing people together to do what we can't achieve alone. They're confronting formidable adversaries, groups like the National Rifle Association, which attacks any and all common sense gun safety measures, and frankly, which is now going after the AFT and me personally, and I wear it as a badge of honor. Groups funded by the Kochs, the DeVosses, and other right-wing billionaires who want to gut public education, public services, and the labor movement. It's no exaggeration to say that we are fighting for the souls of two nations, Israel and the United States. We are fighting to defend democracy against tyrants who, though elected in a democratic process, have little regard for democracy and who aim to solidify their personal gain at the expense of public welfare. In the last decades, we have seen a change in how authoritarian regimes typically replace democratic ones, not by military coup, but rather through a democratic process. So, my friends, whether our democracies survive here and in Israel, whether our fundamental values of pluralism and tolerance and the rule of law survive, it depends on us. So I leave you with this. We must repair our democracies. We must engage in elections. We must fight for a better world. We must promote diversity and tolerance. No one can sit on the sidelines. We cannot shrink from this critical moment. These November 2018 elections are the most important in our lifetimes. They will impact democracy at home and abroad. They will influence U.S. domestic and international priorities. And if you care about Israel or you care about anything in the U.S., you must vote and make your voices heard. As Martin Luther King said, he preached, our weapon is our vote. So, whether you believe in Israel, whether you believe in the United States, whether you believe in justice, in peace, in a future, we need to be there voting in November. We must not give up hope. Justice is at our side. Go from a rallying nation to a voting nation, and we will turn this around. Are you ready, J Street? Are you ready, J Street? Are you